Welcome to You Asked For It, where you ask questions and we either give our opinions or our facts, depending on what the questions are, on what you asked.
And facts, not our facts.
It's our truth.
Yes.
No, and he's triggered. And that was it.
He's offended.
And there's many ways you can ask. And this week I was asked in person on Sunday.
Boom.
So here we go.
Okay.
The question is from Cindy.
Whoa, we've never said names before.
Oh, I just gave the
No last name.
no last name. I didn't give a last. There's plenty of Cindy's that go to our church.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna.
I thought it was in the
say
grocery
last
store
name.
they asked you.
Or maybe it was
Wasn't the
Bob.
grocery- It could have been. No, it was. It was at church.
Maybe Cindy was
person.
just the given name.
Yeah.
As to not personally identify themselves.
The names have been changed to protect the the guilty and the innocent. Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
The question is, how do we see heaven when we dream about it? And then she gave example questions like, what about babies? What age will we be? Where do we choose where we live? Will there be coffee? You know, that kind of stuff. That was an important one, by the way.
Release.
It was emphasized.
Shoot and release.
That's your version of heaven?
Shoot and release.
Well,
He
there'd
gets to
be
go
no
hunting all
more
the time.
death, so
Yeah.
I shoot a monster elk and
But there's going to be no way there's not hunting. Otherwise, not heaven.
well, that's why I see it.
Okay, wait. What's the first question again?
Yeah, that seemed confusing.
It's-
The first
that's
didn't
an
line
odd-
up with the
first
rest.
phrase.
like when you
When we
dream about heaven, where
Okay,
we're
not
going.
sleeping and dreaming.
No,
just
like when you think
when
about
you're
it, when you're
envisioning
dreaming
it.
about,
Okay,
when you're
got it.
envisioning heaven, what is it you see? How do you picture it?
Yeah.
How do you
Okay, I'll
picture
go
heaven?
first. Most of my vision of heaven is from the Bible. Maybe not all of it, but I do pretty much. My view of heaven, I think I could back up scripturally for the most part with what it says about heaven. Heaven is a city. Heaven itself is a city. Paradise is all around that city. That city's huge. Talks about 1,500 miles by 1,500 miles, gold and pearls and all that. There's gates in the city. I mean, the Bible talks about that. But I think some of the stuff that she's asking is, how old will people be?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. That we don't know, except for a couple of clues we have of stories that Jesus told of Abraham. When somebody saw Abraham, they identified Abraham right away. So I assume there, now this is an assumption, that Abraham looked just like Abraham did when he died, or at least the mature, grown-up Abraham, because it still looked, same with Elijah and Moses, that they were identified right away. So they most likely looked like, I'm saying most likely looked like a mature adult person here on earth. Now, I do think that babies will grow up to be... Now, this is just my opinion.
Yep.
I think everybody's going to be at a prime age or an adult age. Everybody will be an adult age, at least physically, from a human standpoint. But for those that are going to be more mature adults, old like me, we're all going to be perfect. There's no old... But how will we look? I think everyone's going to be identifiable. I'm sure of that. That we will identify everybody. I think everybody's going to be an adult. Whether a mature adult, young adult, I don't know. But everybody will be an adult. Everybody's going to resemble what they look like here on earth. And again, the evidence of that is Jesus Christ himself. In a glorified state, he looked just like he looked when he was on the earth, so much so his apostles could identify him and see him and say, that's Jesus. So I think as far as that question is, when we think about heaven, the people we know, I believe we're all going to be adults.
What would you say about people like Ross with mental issues right now, or people that have physical issues, or even not necessarily from birth, but maybe people who really struggle with their weight or stuff like that? What about those sorts of things?
I think that every one of us are going to be in a perfect state. So every human being was designed and created by God to be in a perfect state. and sin or problems or, car accident took your leg off, whatever.
Yep.
Everything's going to be restored to God's perfect design is what I believe, that everyone will be healed. As a matter of fact, I think those are the promises with salvation. I don't think those promises are talking about our physical life on this
Right
earth.
now.
I don't think they are. I think some people call it a cop-out, but if I lose my eyesight before I die, I thank God that I don't have to live through eternity blind. But that healing isn't something that just automatically happens. It is a product of salvation, that Jesus restored everything in his death, burial, and resurrection for me. So I get to see. So I think that's true with everybody. People born handicapped, people who had accidents or physical ailments. Everybody's going to be restored to God's perfect, I think of this way, a blueprint for how he designed them. So we're all going to be perfectly healthy and perfect mind and all of that.
Do you ever think, like, bringing up Ross, when you see him in heaven, you'll actually be able to have a conversation with him, like a real conversation with him.
Yeah.
Unlike the same 4 conversations he has now.
Yeah.
Real, like, hey.
How did you get here? I try to have those conversations with him now. I think I've shared this before, but often, still once or twice a week, I put Ross to bed generally every night. And I talk to him about heaven, and I look him in the eye and say, hey, Ross, just don't forget this day. Someday we're going to talk. We're going to see each other. And I love you, and we're going to exchange being adult, healthy people.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So will there be coffee?
Will there be coffee? What's really interesting is I don't
It's an opinion. It's an opinion.
Yeah. My opinion is that that like food, let's just talk about food or things we enjoy. The Bible says there's fruit trees in heaven, and we're going to be invited to this supper of the Lamb, this huge supper.
Feast.
This huge feast. But on the other hand, our glorified bodies don't need nutrition. So that is where I just say one of those questions where I say, I have no idea. I have no idea. But if it will help you.
And you're a huge coffee
Oh,
drinker.
yeah, I love coffee.
You love coffee.
Love
so
coffee.
You're not just saying, no, there won't be coffee because you don't like it. You're just.
Yeah, I don't know. I think all of the not vexes, but the things we need here that we're handicapped with.
Right.
Addictions.
I wouldn't go as far as say addictions, but
I think coffee is an
But
addiction.
That's what I
anyway.
heard with coffee is, will there be legalized drugs that society accepts?
yeah. Here's the
Because that's
deal.
what coffee is.
Yeah.
We're not
100%.
going to need any stimulants. We're not going to need any anything like that.
No, I don't think the question was, are we going to need them?
Yeah.
But will it be
But
there?
will they be there?
I don't think some of the things that we have here will be there. But I really don't. We don't need them. They're not there. However, I do think this, and I would encourage everybody. As a matter of fact, the question is, if you're dreaming about heaven, what's it like?
Yeah.
I would say, think of the most fantastic, wonderful things that you enjoy the most on this earth, and multiply it by 100, just so you look forward to being in heaven. I don't think that's a bad thing to say. Hey, you know what? I can't wait to go to heaven, because maybe it's not the coffee, but the experience of that puts you in a great place. I know for me, first cup of coffee in the morning, I love. So it's that feeling of I love this moment is going to be in heaven.
Yep.
Will it be attached to the coffee? Probably not. But
Right.
I look forward to that feeling and that relaxation, that comfort zone. Like, oh, I can't wait to heaven. It's going to be this all the time.
Yeah.
But it's not the activity as much as the feeling.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Take like that moment that you love, multiply it by 100, and you're still going to be blown away.
Yeah.
Because we can't even imagine or fathom how amazing heaven is really going to be.
Yeah.
We don't have the capacity.
Do you guys dream? Do you guys envision heaven frequently or ever?
I don't. When I think about heaven, my mind doesn't go to trying to picture what it looks like, what I'm going to do.
Mine doesn't either.
My mind just goes to no fear, no worry, no anxiety, no tired, no hungry,
No pain.
no pain, no tears, no sad. Like that's where so like her don't know if I have a satisfactory answer for this person's question, but when I think about heaven, it's all of those things that my mind, like okay, we can read what the city's about. To me, like, I don't really care that much. So will it be cool? Absolutely. But I just think about not having to like worry anymore.
By the way, I don't daydream about the city and how I'm going to walk. What I like about the Bible describing that is it counters this idea that we're all going to just float around as spirits.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
It's a very real place.
It's a real place.
Real
We're going to walk through doorways and see each other. And I personally have a conviction that I believe this 100%, that heaven is going to be just like this earth. There's going to be a new earth that God created after this one's wiped out, a new earth, and a place that we live that's going to just it's not going to be that much different except for that. But everything you described, we can experience now.
Glimpses of it.
Yeah. I mean, we can really experience not the full force of it, but every bit of it we can, just not to the magnitude.
Yep.
I know for me personally, I just look at the other side and I know that I don't want to live in torment and pain.
Yeah.
And I look at like the worst days that I've had so far on earth, and there's no way I want to go through that for the rest of eternity. And that's not even as bad as it will be. So for that, I just know that heaven's going to be so much better.
That's interesting because, you normally think of the good, whereas take the worst pain and anguish and all of that you've had here.
Multiply it by 100.
Multiply that by 100.
Yeah.
And if you don't put your faith in Jesus Christ,
not
that's
the
where you're
magnitude.
going.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's still not going to be close to that. It's gnashing of teeth. And
This heaven thing is so miraculous that if there was one line in the whole Bible that said, to experience this great thing, you have to live your whole life on your hands and knees and eat gravel and grass, it would be a great deal. It'd be a bargain.
For 100 years, you have to do this.
Yep.
For an eternity of this. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Seems like a fair trade.
Thank you. That's all I got to do. That's all I got to do to get that. It would be a great deal.
yeah,
But God made it even easier.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
he did.
Just a little bit.
Oh, easier for who?
Not for
people-
Jesus.
That wasn't easier for Jesus.
Not for Jesus.
Well, I wasn't talking about Jesus. I was talking about the rest of us.
Good question.
You're talking
Foolish people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All you have to do is not say certain words. Give a certain amount of money away.
Yeah.
Pray every
and
day
Pray every day. Yep.
And
or not.
feed the hungry and house the homeless.
My favorite question to ask kids in our elementary room is, how do you get to heaven? And I love when they start raising their hands and say, to pray or to be really good. And I just look at them, nope.
Wrong.
And then
Loser.
finally,
You fail.
Our
one
kids
kiddo-
director loves pointing out when kids are wrong.
I do, because it's not them that's wrong. It's the people that have told them
See,
this
that's
that
more
are
important.
wrong.
Like, who told you that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you can go and tell your parents that I said that they're wrong. So
There you go.
So that's
That's the way to build a church. I tell you right there.
but it's an awesome opportunity to
For
to
sure.
remind kids, and I actually haven't done it for a little while, so we'll be doing it again within the next couple weeks. Since we only have one service this Sunday, probably not this week, but coming up we'll be doing it. And it's the kids that have been around a while know the answer,
Good.
but it's the ones that don't or that haven't been here get to hear the answer, and then we talk about it, and it opens up great
Just keep
conversations.
drilling that into them over and over, so when they grow up, they're not going to struggle with
There's
all those other things.
one way,
Yep.
and only one way.
Do
The
my
other stuff is
Do my
great.
grandkids know the right answer?
I haven't seen them for a while. Oh. They've been coming to watch you guys.
I knew the answer when you asked.
Truth bomb.
Been going. You knew that.
I knew when you started asking, I was like, oh boy, what's Radian going to say? She's
No.
honest with you.
I'm honest.
Good.
But some of the little ones have been coming.
Okay.
So
Yeah. And I
they are
see why
coming
you-
to church. So that's
Well, they are coming
Yeah.
to church.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I see why you're saying that though. The correction and direction
Yeah.
is you don't
Super
want to
important.
hear a bunch of people that already know the message. You want to find people that don't know the truth
Yeah.
and correct.
So we don't do it
their
every
view of
we
it.
don't have this conversation every week, but I bring it up every couple months because it needs to be reminded. Repetition is super important for not just children, but it is super important for
Everybody.
adults to hear it and to be told there's one way and only one way. So
Yep.
All right.
There you go.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for
So
asking the question.
We don't know about legalized society accepted drugs, but we do know that heaven is going to be pretty good.
Yeah. Pretty good.
That's one way to put it.
Heaven's going to be awesome. All right. Well, hopefully that answered your question. And if it didn't,
Sorry.
I'm sure I'll hear from you. Are we saying Cindy? So
Bye, Cindy, and everybody else.
thanks for asking. If you have a question, you can approach any of us on a Sunday. You can comment on this video. You can shoot us an email. Give us a call at the church. Whatever you want to do. However you want to do it. Hit us up on Facebook. We're everywhere. And we'll see you next week.